Okay. So our job today is to um, go through this particular tutorial slide, and I call this one MIS542 DBA101, and it should be called Oracle DBA101. It's not any DBA. And the reason that this was created is because we are in the textbook reading chapter 8, 9, and even though we skip chapter 10, chapter 10 is actually the majority part of this tutorial is coming from. These chapter 9 in particular, and to chapter 10 mostly, that we are talking about DBA. And DBA is pure database management. So it's no longer data management or database design, right? I remember, back in a few weeks ago, I probably raised a question asking you the difference between data management and database management. Those are two different things. Data management is only about data, and database is the tool used to manage data, right? So database management is more complicated because, well, in general sense, database management include data management, right? So when we are learning like ER diagram, we are learning normalization theory, we are actually managing data. So it's not managing database, right? But when we get into the creation of the database using the create statement, using the insert statement, using the alter statement, the data definition language and data manipulation language, and also the transaction control language we talk about in SQL, those get into the area of database management, right? So unfortunately, the database management is a very, how do you describe it? How do I describe it? It's a very tedious and complex job. So you're encountering a lot of these system-specific features that you try to understand, right? So when I say system-specific, it's Oracle or Microsoft SQL Server or IBM DB2 or some of those systems. And every system, every one of the database management system has the evolution from one version to another. So different version, they will add new features. Say, for example, the newest edition of the Oracle will add features such as some of the NoSQL feature in Oracle database. And some of those are things like cloud computing, or Oracle called this autonomous database, some AI flavor going to the system. So those are the things that are system specific. This make the DBA job or database management job very difficult. So because you have to be trained and retrained, so you have to go to, so if you really work as a DBA or system administrator for network, that you have to be trained and retrained every couple of years. So you have to go attend conference or take more lessons to learn newest edition of Linux, for example, or Microsoft Windows system. In this case, we'll be learning database system to learn the new feature, right? But some of the core of all the system, including a network operation system and the database management system, remain the same. So in the database world, the relational structure database management is pretty much the same for the last 30 years, right? 30 years or so. Ever since that, well, actually more than 30 years, probably 45, 50 years already. So in the late, most likely from the early 1980s, this language has been established. And from reading the textbook, you learn that the SQL 92 is the standard. So 92 to today is just about 30 years. So that 30 years from starting from SQL 92 is the time we try to cover that commonality, right? So our job today is to go through the, well, first of all, slide, and then we will go into the system, UI Citrix virtual machine, using that virtual machine to understand some of the property of how do we manage the Oracle database system, right? It's very similar. Once you understand one system, it's very easy to move from Oracle to SQL Server, They have terminology change. Some of the name are different, but concept are very similar, right? So here are some of the things that we have listed our objective, and I'll just kind of go through that. And before we get into the the meat of the lecture, I want to mention one important concept. This one important concept is that in the information system world, everything is about abstraction. So you invent something that you're creating an abstraction of something. And another concept related to the concept of abstraction is representation. Let me give you one concrete example. So when you join UIS, right? So you are assigned a net ID. Right? So the net ID go with you, and net ID become a label, become a symbol, a digital label of something. It's an abstraction. So net ID is an abstraction of your name. So they probably use your last name, first name, put together, put a number. That is an abstraction of you to represent in a information system. So the beauty of abstraction is that whenever you create a label, this thing become flexible, right? Now, it's actually a very philosophical statement. So let me use another example to describe the concept of abstraction. So every time human being invent an abstraction, it creates some utility along the line. And we all know that in ancient society, when we do not have the concept of money, right, what do? We barter. We just exchange product. And what is the money? What exactly is money? Money is an abstraction. So you create a concept of money. So everything can be converted into money. So now you can use the money as a medium for exchange, right? And more than exchange, actually, people now invent so many things you can do with money. So that simple invention of the abstraction become a very useful tool to manage. To manage become a management tool. It makes the system more efficient, right? So make a human economy more efficient because you have money, right? So that is one example of how important when you create an abstraction of a physical world and make it a concept that leads to a very useful system in human society. In database system, there are a lot of things that we try to manage, right? Most importantly, of course, will be data. And physically, where does the data sit? In your hard drive, right? So the data will sit in your hard drive. So when we try to manage data, you need to manage the hard drive, right? But of course, you're not managing the hard drive because people already designed the computer system. The operation system will read the hard drive. And so what do you manage when you try to manage your own computer data? You manage your file. So you have a lot of files, right? So those files contain data. Then you can move it around, copy the file from computer to your flash drive, or submit your assignment from your computer. So the file system is the basic from the software perspective, the basic of data management unit, right? And file has advantage and disadvantage. And first of all, the advantage is it's native to operation system. So when you install a Linux or Windows or Macintosh computer, the operation system can manage data files already. So if you save the data in data file, you can always use your window to manage your data. That's not a problem. The problem, however, is that the file system is not a perfect data management system. A better system will be table system, like what we learned in the entire class. So if you save data in Excel file, that is much more easy for you to manage data than if you save the data in, say, Microsoft Word. Make sense? And Excel is a table system. And of course, when we move this table system and make it more structured, it become our structured relational database, right? So the database is actually using that concept of table. So when we are managing data in the database, now we do not want to manage the file anymore. So people invent the concept of called table. So the table in database become the unit of analysis. So the analogy was very similar. So this table is like a money. So the money exchange of good and service, and table is the exchange medium for data. So you have table concept. It's like money in the economy, and so that's what. And table, when you design table into database, when you use table a lot, it creates another problem. The table will become very complicated. So when you are working on your ER diagram, you see that you can easily create so many tables. So managing that table become a problem. Different company have different way of allowing the database manager or administrator to manage the table more effectively, right? So in Oracle, they create another concept. This another concept called table space. So table space. So table will be will be saved in table space. Just pour door. Right. So so table space become another abstraction concept. And you have learned this term already in different places, especially in Apex. And Apex create another concept, abstraction, another representation called workspace. So you all heard about this term called workspace. And the workspace is built on top of the concept of table space. Basically, it is a unit of managing application building work. So you want to build database application, you want to build a website so people can go in, search for data, see data, or somebody can go in there to create transaction, do any job with the database. Then that application, that entire project, managing the user, the developer, the programmer writing the program, and the system administrator, all together. That resource you need to manage is called workspace. So typically workspace include user account, include application, and including table space. Right? So you have storage, you have software application, and you have user. So you manage that entire thing in the workspace. So now hopefully you understand why Oracle called that. So whenever you log into apex.oracle.com, you have to specify workspace, because that workspace is a place, a unit, more like a project management unit for you to manage that space, right? So let's go in there and look at the tools now. In order to manage the table space and workspace and the user, right? Table space, workspace, user, program, all these things together. You want to have a integrated environment to manage this different kind of resources and different kind of abstraction in a database. And the native tool in Oracle, starting from the very beginning of Oracle probably, well, the earliest edition, the earliest version of Oracle I encountered was Oracle 8. So I start teaching database from Oracle 8. And we were using this tool called SQL Plus. And you have already exposed to the SQL Plus when we use PuTTY going to the system. And that is one of the midterm exam questions I ask you. So you're actually using SQL Plus to log into the oracle.us.edu server. So that will be the native tool. And it is available across all versions of Oracle. So regardless of what version of Oracle, you can use SQL Plus. But of course, SQL Plus is a command line tool, not very easy to use. So we're not going to be using that. So in our class, we are using SQL Developer. And there are also other way of interacting with Oracle. Actually, in our virtual desktop, we also can go into the Oracle, but actually not Oracle. DBA, well, not DBA. It's a web application, web interface to manage your server. As a matter of fact, when you log into apex.oracle.com, that particular website is the web interface that you see the second bullet point on the slide, that we can use that application to manage your workspace. The third one is Oracle SQL Developer, and we have used SQL Developer so many times in our assignment and different tutorial that we use that tool. And this is the tool that we use It's called a native application for Oracle. Basically, that most of the Oracle DBA know this particular tool. Similar tool to SQL Developer in Microsoft will be the one that you use in Universal Arkansas environment, that is called the Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. On your virtual desktop, you will find another one called the DB Visualize. This will be another one that is available. It's not open source, but it is available for people who can download it. And our computer science program, they use this one to allow their student to write SQL to the database. So it was installed. It was installed after we installed the SQL Developer. So the default, when you double click on the script, it's open up DB Visualize. But their rules are the same, right? And I also recommend another one called Toad. This is a tool I like a lot. It's called a SQL Toad. If you go to the Toad world, they have a lot of tool resource. And for those of you who are looking for, actually, some of you are looking for, ask me about the tutorials and the lesson you can learn after the semester. The Toad world has a lot of tutorial and example. You can learn SQL in a more in-depth version, right? Right, so that's the tools and we are using, and for SQL Plus, it's a command line. I will not stay there because we're not going to be using that, right? And the other concept we need to understand is the concept called database instance. And the database instance basically describing whenever you start a computer program, right? And this leads to the concept of how does a computer program or application work on computer, right? So from user's perspective, all of us, we saw Windows. When we know Windows is an operation system or Macintosh, right? So you have operation system. And you double click on a application, then you can start using the application. So the application is running inside the window, right? So that makes sense. So how does the application work with the operating system to use CPU and hard drive and memory? The answer is whenever you start an application, Windows or operation system, anyone you use, will allocate resource to your application. Say, for example, you start Microsoft Word, and Windows will probably says, okay, I'll give you 1 GB of memory. So when my computer has 8 GB, actually my computer is very old, 4 GB of memory, and it will give 1 GB to Word, and probably the operation system will use one GB, right? So the application will use that memory allocated by the operation system, and also operation system will allocate certain hard drive space for that particular program. So the combination of the hard drive space, the memory, and more specifically in database, they will also give you certain percentage of CPU, because we know that the most important part of the computer is the CPU, right? So CPU has computing power, and so when you go into the utility like task management, you go into Task Manager, you can see the percentage of CPU that is running, right? So if you know operation system, you can actually always monitor to see why my computer is slow. You open up Task Manager, you see which program is using the CPU. You shut down that program, your computer will go faster, right? So those are the basic concept. And so going back to the concept of instance, the concept of instance, whenever you start Oracle on a computer server, the server will give Oracle system a certain amount of memory, and there are actually two type of memory. One is called SGA, the other is called PGA, right? And there are explanation in the next few slides. We're not going to be going to that detailed definition of those memory, but basically it will allocate certain memory to Oracle. So Oracle system will take over from those memory from operation system and start running program inside that system and using CPU time, and that is called an Oracle instance, right? So if the Oracle program is not running, there is no instance, right? And later when we get into the virtual desktop, you will see what an instance look like. And actually, you have seen that already when we start the Oracle service from somewhere from long time ago. That you are actually starting an instance, right? And we'll look at the instance management utility from Oracle very soon. So this is another one that is very complicated. It's another abstraction that Oracle created in order to manage the database management system even better, right? It create more complexity. And the concept in here actually prepare you to go into the cloud, right? So looking at the terminology here, it is not very intuitive, let's put it this way. But yeah, you can understand it, the concept is called a container and pluggable database. But why are they creating this kind of a special name for database? It's just a database. Why you have container and pluggable? Again, the direct answer, quick answer is for the purpose of management, right? Let me give you one scenario you understand why this is very important in a large scale database management. Database management systems are usually very expensive. Right? I really don't know how much Oracle charge. I'm not a salesperson from Oracle, but obviously you can probably imagine Oracle charge a lot. Even though the Oracle say software is the same, regardless you're installing on our virtual desktop or install on a company, right? But they will charge the company differently, depends on how many people and how much data are used or managed by the system. So usually that a lot of software price schedule depends on how many accounts you are creating. Say, for example, if you're creating, your company has less than 100 employees, so you go buy a version of Oracle says 100, the terminology we use 100 seat. So you can create 100 account in Oracle simultaneously. Well, actually, you can create more than 100 account, but 100 account can simultaneously log into the system. That's called 100 seat of the software. So Oracle will charge you with a price tag, say, okay, 100 seat. Every year you have to pay how much. So that's usually how software price are priced. But you can imagine that the software can be very expensive. Say, so if you are encountered this software buying decision, you are buying Oracle, and you approach Oracle, say, okay, well, I'm going to be buying. I need 100 seat, right? But I anticipate probably in 5 years, or even sooner, maybe in 6 months, I will be needing like 200 seat, right? So you cannot and then you have to talk to the salesperson and the Oracle person to decide on how you're going to be set your contract. So Oracle would probably come back saying, why don't you buy 500 seat, 500, right? I'll give you a discount for 500 seat. And so they say, well, yeah, okay, I can buy 500 seat, and because I anticipate I will grow, right? But after you purchase this 500 seat, guess what? You only use 100. You have 400 seat that is not used. That is a waste of money and resource. Right? And after 6 months, and your company did not grow as you expected, you still have 400 seats left unused. So if you are financially smart enough, you'll say, well, guess what? Why don't we do this? We have another small company. Why don't we rent this 400 seat to them? And we use the same system because I have 500 seat, I give you 300, I will use 200. Then and we pay together, so that way we can share the price and we get a discount from Oracle, right? So that is a practical purchasing, software purchasing situation. But so now the answer is, how do you manage the database in the same system, which you have two companies using the same system, but the same system of course offer 500 seats simultaneously, right? And the sharing can be also flexible. Sometimes I use 100, the other company uses 200. Sometimes I use 400, the other company use 50. and we can kind of utilize this one founder, share the resource more effectively. That's when the management problem come in inside database. So Oracle, and so the terminology now is that if you want to create, say you want to buy a copy of the Oracle software, host multiple company. Each company we'll call this tenant, a tenant in your Oracle database system. And each tenant you give them a certain right to create 1, 2, 3, 4 database inside that tenant. Yeah.
So now, is Oracle trying to give them the right, or the person or the company that bought the whole 500 users?
So Oracle give you, Oracle in our example, Oracle give you right for 500.
Yes.
And you have the entire right to manage your Oracle system. And inside the Oracle, you have the feature to create tenant. So so the company purchased that 500C now can configure the Oracle system, create 2 tenants. One rented to another company, the other one I use. Or you can create 3 tenants, as many as you like, as long as you can manage the usage of the system well. So this additional abstraction or the additional layer of concept, this additional layer is the concept of pluggable. Where's the pluggable term I have here? It's each one of this, it's called a pluggable database, right? PDB. The pluggable database is the one that allow you to assign to individual tenant in a large Oracle environment, right? Another similar example, right, but not directly in this scale. It's more on a hardware level. So in hardware level, we know that most of the company, if you want to do the backup system internally, you usually will buy a backup server. The backup server usually will be some Linux machine usually, and then they have a lot of slot. You can plug in hard drive. So every hard drive you plug in, you create additional space for that, right? And you can configure how the hard drive is going to be managed. You can put multiple hard drive into one logical drive, so C, D, E, F, right? Or you can have multiple hard drive in one server, right? So each one of this hard drive is kind of like our plug-in database. You can plug in and unplug it, plug in, unplug it, right? Say if you are facing the hurricane that is hurting the Florida, right? So you're running a company and you have this backup server. You can unplug the data and go, right? Similar concept here. You can actually you want to protect the data, one pluggable database. But of course, this one is not easily imagined because in the backup server you have a physical hard drive you can unplug. In here, it's a logical concept. It's a software give you a concept. You can unplug this part of the database and or plug in another database, right? You can move another pluggable data from another system, plug into this system. Similarly, but in a logical software sense, right? So that's the concept. So this is why at the beginning I tried to explain the concept. Every time you create an abstraction, in this case, this abstraction is pluggable database. You create a way of managing the system more creatively. Yeah. So that's kind of like, so pluggable system become another money for data. So you can now, so this money assigned to company A, the other is company B. And company A, if they decide that they're not going to be sharing with you, you unplug them, you rent it to another company, right? A lot of web hosting companies doing similar job. So they will rent you web space, and one big server, rent to 100 website. So each website is a client, and in this case, we use the terminology tenant. Each website is a tenant inside that web server, right? So this is the concept of pluggable database, not from the technical detail as we see on the slide, but from your professors try very hard to explain, right? So now this particular slide is the definition of instant now. And earlier I explained already what is the instant. It's just the memory and CPU time allocate to your computer program. And there are some And we will see the data when we get into the tutorial, and we can work on that together. So now we can work on this already together. And so what I will do is I will keep the slide in the background. So once in a while, I will come back and look at this. Right. So I'm already in the virtual desktop. So I'll give you 20 seconds so you can start our virtual desktop and follow me. And I'll do this a little bit slower. So those of you who are here in the classroom can follow. So the first utility we're going to be opening up is the service, right? So this is a little bit different from what the tutorial process, but it will always be a good idea to explain this a little bit before we move forward. So in our previous assignment or tutorial, when we try to use the Oracle server installed on the virtual desktop, right? So again, try to clarify. We have used so many systems already. This is the one that installed on the virtual machine. And the one that we use in previous oracle.us.edu, that is not on this machine. It's on a machine you don't know where it is, right? So I really don't know where that machine is. But that is, and you have one your university account associated with that. And this one, for this particular assignment, we need to use a virtual desktop because the oracle.us.edu server, you do not have the DBA right. You have an account, but that's not a DBA account. And this machine, this virtual box, we have the full control of the system. So you have the DBA account. And if you recall that the DBA account we used before is called system. Remember that account? System is a default DBA account from after you install Oracle, right? So and we went through a process of starting Oracle Instant by going to this service application, and you will be able to search and find. You'll be able to find this called Oracle Service ORCL, right? So that's, and also have another one called Listener Service. And in the past, we start a service, and if you see the property or the status startup type, it's manual. So we actually start the process manually from here. But here in our tutorial, we are not going to be using this method. We are going to go in Oracle utility, because Oracle provides you a tool to do all these management without going to the Windows tool. The service app is the Windows tool. It's not a Oracle tool. And so if you are managing Oracle, you use Oracle tool. And let's go to Oracle folder. In this case, we are using Oracle 18 Enterprise Edition, 18C Enterprise Edition. And if you go into there, you will find one of the, oh, this is Microsoft, it's not Oracle, sorry. Oracle ORADB18 Home 1. There are a lot of tools there, and we're going to be using two of them today. One is called the Oracle Instance Manager. See, because we are now going to be starting the Oracle instance manually and without going to the window tool. So this instant management is the tool that we use to create or to start up the system. So if you go in there, you see that we have only one folder, because on this particular virtual desktop, we have only one copy of the Oracle installed. You can actually install multiple copies on the one server, but that will further complicate things. But we have one server installed. If you read a little bit, it says status stopped, right? And what we can do here is we can use the tool here. Going to the right, there's something called the action, Oracle Service ORCL. We can start up the service, right? So does everybody get here already? Start up service, right? So when you start up a service, they ask you for a password. And what password is this? This will be your DBA password. And DBA, there are actually two default DBA in Oracle. One is called System. The other one is the one we're going to be using today. It's called SYS. Very similar to System, but these two accounts has different role. And System is usually, SYS is usually used for this particular purpose. So the password here is, when we install the server, it's lowercase password, right? So PASSWORD is the password here. It will start both the service and the instance together. And it will take a little bit longer to start. So during this empty time, we just, we can only wait, or somebody can start telling a joke. Nobody want to tell a joke? Yeah, so yesterday I was telling the other class the story about the Credit Suisse. Everybody know about this Credit Suisse? Credit Suisse. So Credit Suisse is a Switzerland investment bank. So a lot of rich people will create account in Credit Suisse. And last week, I think, last Friday or maybe over the weekend, somebody from Credit Suisse, issue a warning, says they are in the big trouble, right? And so the trouble is very similar to 2008, that the Lehman Brothers in the United States, that they're telling that we are now have a very low equity that can maintain our profit. So we are losing money every day because the US dollar rise, the interest rate rise, and the euro sink. And so the holding of the Credit Suisse is actually losing money instead of making money. So when they issue that, the stock market crash and that sort of thing. But yeah, so that should be some of the interesting news you should know. And it really take a long time. So I have to finish that. I finished that story too quickly. So I should tell you a little bit more. One interesting thing about this Credit Suisse is that I believe one of their top manager, the last name of that manager is also Lehman. So it's Lehman Brothers, 2008, 14 years ago. Now it's another Lehman from Credit Suisse. All right, so it's done. So system respond, if you look at the status now, it says running. And we can actually go back to the service app and refresh a little bit. So that's right click and refresh. After you refresh, you see that we have Oracle Service ORCL running already, right? So this is, so Oracle Service is running, but the listener is not running yet, right? We can start the listener manually here, or we can use another tool to start the listener. Let me just start the listener here to simplify the job. So start the listener, right? So from our tutorial, we are already here. This is slide number 9, right? And now once the server and the listener has started, it means the Oracle instance has started. We can now go into management tool, in this case, SQL Developer, to log into a management interface. So the tool, guess what? We are going to be using SQL Developer. So we will start SQL Developer. Okay. Today I forgot to make my own coffee. So I was looking for my coffee mug and I cannot find it. I was saying this because I'm waiting for that system to start again. Unfortunately, if we want to do this live, there are a lot of waiting time that we have to go through. Of course, if I'm creating a video tutorial, I'll pause and cut down the waiting time. But we are delivering this live, and I don't like to do the editing, so I will just record it, right? So in here, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using an account called SYS account, right? So let's go back to the tutorial and to go back and forth so we know what we're doing. We are entering this information. So at home, you might just want to open up this slide and go in here. And now take a look at the username there. The username there, we're not using system anymore. We're using the user code SYS. And the password is the same. And look at the SID, it's ORCL, right? And host name is localhost. It's on that particular machine, right? And the other interesting or different thing that you are looking at here is now in this particular login, we use a different role to log in. So if you look at the connection type, basic, but the role will be SYS DBA. Only SYS DBA can enable the DBA feature that account can use. So we'll do that in the SQL developer. And because the SQL developer is really small, all right. So let's just call this Oracle 18 C what SYS DBA, right? The username is SYS. Uppercase, lowercase doesn't matter. Password is password lowercase. And we're going to be using basic, but the role will be changed to SYS DBA. And SID ORCL, right? And we can test the account and make the connection.
So, would you mind pause a little bit? We are far.
What?
I think we are behind a little bit.
Okay, let me go back to the slide. So enter that information here. So this is why we need a slide here. Everybody got it? Not yet? Not yet?
Yeah, because our system just removed again.
I know. So it's it happens all the time.
Yes, just kind of black.
So I was thinking, should I pause the recording?
Yes, just pause it and give us.
Okay, so now we can start going to the next screen. The next screen is we are going to be seeing some of the things that is not we have not seen before. This menu is open up from the SQL developer, the menu selection. You go into top something called a view, and view is where you can open up different panels inside the SQL developer. And you can see that there are a lot of things you can learn. There's so many things you can learn, right? We have already some of familiar one, including the default connection, or that you see that already. And we also have a worksheet and some other thing. The one we're going to be looking at today is called DBA, just like the name suggested. DBA is the tool, set of tool that you can use to manage the database system. So I'll open up DBA from view. So when you click on this, you open up on the left lower corner. See that? You have one box said DBA. Right, so that DBA will become so basically what the idea of the interface design is. This is a dashboard. You're managing the system using this dashboard, and this dashboard depends on what you want to do with the system. So the first one, and they assume that every time you want to use the system, you need to manage the connection, what account you're going to be using. So you have connection, and now we are managing the a database system. So a DBA folder or DBA panel open up, and the DBA panel, just like a connection, it's a generic tool. You can use the system to manage multiple database. So here we have to create a connection for DBA. So I click on that green little, not green, big green button here. It will give you a dialog says which option or which connection. We have only one connection here. So select the default one and That will be the system we are looking at. Right, so when you open up this folder, the DBA folder, you will see a lot of option, a lot of things you can look at. Let me try to go back to the slide to see which one I want you to take a look. So we're going to be looking at, first of all, going to the folders of database configuration to see what's out there. So going to database configuration, current status, current database property. Yeah, current database property. Now this is sort of important. I forgot whether the assignment asked you to do this or not. The assignment probably asks you a few questions you have to answer. Now, one of the questions that assignment asks is, what is the global name for your database? All right, so this is the global DB name property name, global underscore DB underscore name. And it's Oracle or ORCL dot localhost. Right, so you imagine that the global name for our UIS Oracle server will be oracle.uis.edu. So that is the global name, right? The concept of global name put on internet will be the URL you assign to that particular server, okay? So that is the global name we are looking at. So navigate yourself to find local global name. Next, we need to capture a screenshot. The screenshot is looking at initialization parameter. So let's go in there. Initialization parameter. And you have to scroll down. And because earlier in the tutorial slide, I explained the concept of instance. And instance consists of two memory area. One is called SGA. The other is called a system global area. And the other one is called the PGA. The what is PGA? I forgot what PGA stands for, but PGA program global area. Thank you. So these two areas, one is for user, the other is for system management. SGA is for system management, and it has a default size. Right. So this is probably a little bit more than 2 GB or something that allocate to SGA. Right. So that is the property I want you to take a look. And as a DBA, you can configure that system depends on how fast or how powerful your Oracle database can be, right? The more you allocate here, the more that Oracle control from your computer server. Okay, so that is this is a screenshot. So you have to take this screenshot. Hopefully, highlight this particular area. So that is the screenshot we are taking here. So we have PGA. Oh, well, on the tutorial, I moved to PGA, not SGA. So PGA and SGA, the default one is the same for both of them. Right? But because I use SGA, for those of you here, just take the SGA. You can take PGA for if you're watching this video afterward. Right, so, and there is a slide telling you that you can actually using SQL statement to change the property. So this is how a DBA job is done. So if you want to say, okay, I want to go give this particular instance of Oracle more memory, more powerful to use, you just go open up this SQL command. You type alter that property set to what? Then you can change that. You don't need to do this, right? Just like I said, you don't need to do this. So telling you this is how things are done, and why we want to use the SQL command instead of the SQL developer to change. Well, you can use SQL developer to change the value, but it will be more elegant using this because If you use this, you can embed this into a program, computer program. So if you want the system to dynamically change the memory, you can have a program running monitor the performance of the system. The performance of the system is going slow. You change and add more memory to it. When the performance system going very fast and user log out, you can change it back, right? So that computer program need to enter this particular command here. So that's why when you get into a higher level DBA, you always use SQL statement instead of using the tool that is available to you, right? So the other one, we don't need to capture the screenshot, but it's kind of enjoyable looking at the management tool like a dashboard in Oracle. Go to database status, look at instant viewer. So let's go to database status, instance view viewer. You will see the dashboard showing you the performance of the database in different memory area and things on. Yes. SGA. There are the number you see there is just byte. It's not megabyte, but so if you no for the number you see on our screen, that is not megabyte. So if you see that a big number is actually gigabyte, but they write in exact number. So yeah. So in the slide we have. Yeah, that's when you issue, you can issue that there's a different format you can issue. You can also, without writing the M, you can write million. You can 1 million in byte. Yeah. So that M stands for megabyte. So, right. So this is a dashboard showing you how the database perform. And if you're a daily DBA, then your job every day is probably you want to create a put a monitor here and then watch it all the time and see if somebody or something goes wrong, show up a warning sign or something. So that is something that you can kind of interesting for me. That's it's great. It's a nice tool for us to see. And of course, your tutorial tell you some of the things that. And this particular slide is telling you the concept of table space. So instead of managing the file directly as a database manager, Oracle take over the file. So you don't need to worry about how the files are saved on hard drive. And it's optimized by the Oracle system. So now you need to worry about the logical level. On the top, you see that there are 5 table space. So managing table space become another job that in data management. So table space is describing here. We can take a look at the table space status by looking at, again, in the DBA feature, looking at storage. So you go to storage, you go to data file. You see how each table space are allocated to different data file on your computer, right? So the 2 table space I use extensively, that those are the system table space. And the user and the temporary table space, see the green one are the one we use to upload data and do all these query inside that particular space. Data file, this is the relationship between table space and data file. So the management tool will tell you where the files are actually saved. So if you're a hacker, you notice you destroy the file, it's all gone. Or you try to lock that file. Then once you lock that file, so basically a ransomware is the ransomware look for the file and lock it. Yeah.
So then, if you lock it, that's the
Nobody, yes, unless you unlock it, otherwise the system cannot access the data, right? So of course you want to hide this somewhere. You don't want people to know where so you cannot allow people to know where your file is, right? So typically this is exposed most likely by, say, well, in the typical organization, it's exposed by the people working in the organization. They probably have an infected flash drive. They plug in the flash drive, virus will go into that computer and search for these files. And these files, by the way, for most of the database system, has default name. Say, for example, in this case, the extension is DBF. So the ransomware just search for .dbf, and lock all of them. That's what happened, right? So that's some of the nuance that we kind of learn from this detailed thing about system, right? The other interesting thing is that now we can look at the, so we look at the table space from the DBA view. This is a table space from also DBA view, but different DBA. And earlier when we log into the system, you see that we use a role called DBA SY is DBA. It's called system DBA. So system DBA are usually, the role is created to manage the network and the hardware and the connection between database software, right? So database software, hardware, network, that management is system DBA. But if you want to manage the logical including user, logical object, user, and table space are logical, or workspace. So these logical concepts are managed by regular DBA account. So the regular DBA account, well, in this case, we are not going to be creating another connection. Regular DBA account, the information I show in the, say, for example, when we try to create a new user, that is a regular DBA job. So create a new user. And if you recall, where do we create a new user? You open up the connection, that you go into the user folder. So you go into user folder, you can manage user, right? So this is a user folder, but in this case, we're managing the table space. So the next step of tutorial is showing you where do you manage or see the table space. It's actually very interesting. It's managing by views. So again, if you work on our assignment diligently, and from our query assignment, I introduced view for calculation, and also we learned the role of view. One of the role is to provide security, allow specific access. Oracle managing all the logical objects through view. Right. So if you want to change anything, you need to go into the view. And where's the table associated with the view? You don't know. Oracle hiding that table from even the DBA. So if you want to change any product, you cannot find the table. You can only find the view. And the view is under the view folder. And the folder we are looking, we are going to be looking at is the user table, the user workspace, user table space. Sorry. So you search for user. A lot of view that here table, user table space, user table space, right? So this is the property of the user table space view. If you click on the data, it will show you, and this should be familiar to you already. If you look at the name, the first one says system, second one system aux, and you have temp, you have also users. That user is the one that we are looking at. Okay, so that, I think that is that a screenshot we need to take? Let me take a look. No, not the one, not yet. So this is where we are on the tutorial slide. We're looking at the user table space. Right, yes. You have to click on the data tab. So over here, there is a data tab. You click on data, you see that data. So that column is the definition of the column that for all the property for your table space. Okay. just to entertain, this is not in your tutorial. Let's try to find another one that you have used before, right? So if you search on the view, you can find the one of the things called the users. Again, if you recall some of our assignment before, we used this view already, user. And when you use select username from user, you get what? You get yourself. In this case, that user is system or SYS, right? So that's something that's just kind of showing as a demonstration of how the Oracle system work as a management tool. Or the next one, we need to create or capture the screen. And the next one is we're going to be using this query and make sure we open up a worksheet. Issue this query, select table space name, initial extend from user table space. And that is a table space view we used earlier. So let's try to do that. Unfortunately, you cannot copy and paste. And to do that, well, in this particular example, we have only one connection. So you look on the tab on top, there's only one worksheet. If there is no worksheet, you have to open up a worksheet by clicking on the top. That something look like this one. So if you have a green button, you can create, say, multiple worksheet or here, multiple worksheet here. But we already have one open, so we just click on this. We can now issue select. I forgot what I'm selecting. Selecting table space name, initial extend. When you type, it will give you some default. I think that's the one I have. Extent. I spelled that incorrectly. Sorry. From user space, right? So yeah, the default will show up here. Say should be this one. So user space. Yeah, that's it. Initial extend, right? So make sure that I have that copy correct. Basically, these two columns you can find out from the view table definition. And you want more information, you can select more column. But we can execute the statement, and you get, guess what? That is the, and you need to capture this screenshot, right? So this is the information we see from a lot, so many different places already. By the size of your table space, the default size created by the installation of the software. All right, so we everybody's here already. All right, so that's go ahead and enter that particular statement. You can enter the statement directly in here. So alter. I think that's the statement, right? Alter pluggable database or RCLPDB open. And again, to kind of explaining the utility a little bit, on the left upper corner, there's a big green triangle button. It runs one statement at a time. The other one is running the entire script. Now we are running one statement at a time. So click on that big one instead of the small one. And make sure your mouse cursor is right on top of that statement. And you will get the results. Should have a feedback message. Says, feedback says it's already open or pluggable database is open. Right. I'm going to be pausing here again, pausing the recording. Continue recording. So recall what we have learned before, that if you want to create a DBA account, we assign privilege and role, most importantly role, because role is a bunch of privilege assigned to that. And the 3 role we want to assign to a DBA is connect resource DBA. Without a DBA, you have a developer account. Without a, well, actually, resource can be further managed so you can create regular user account. You have only read, not writing privilege in that database. Right, so just concept. And we are moving to some of the term that I will not explain anymore. And you can change password by issuing this particular statement. Say alter user, actually that if you do not have any utility to use, you cannot use SQL Developer, this is the statement you can use to change the password. All right. Unfortunately, this particular statement cannot hide your password. So when you type, people will see the password here. So that's a danger. That's the old system setting. Right. So now we can try to create a user account. Right, user account. All right. So let's try to do that. So this part is a demonstration of one of the earlier errors actually some of you have encountered. Remember that we use a C#, that user account. And so let's create a user by using this SYS account to create a user. To do that, right click on this folder and say create user. That's called this MIS542. Right? Password, I'll just use password. And we select user Tim, right? So there are some other options, and we also in our previous exercise, we go into the role and the grant different role to the user. But for now, to demonstrate, let's just take a look at the error message. Apply. Okay, what I'm doing here is just trying to enlarge the screen so you can see better. Right? So that, yes. So the requirement from the assignment is to probably show, no, not yet. We are not into the screenshot yet, right? But it's demonstrating what it looked like. So we need to take this screenshot, yes. So the current screenshot is required to show that basically what I want to see here is the screenshot need to have the C## MIS542, right? And what I'm doing on the screen here is I open up the user property and click on the SQL tab. This shows you how this user is created at SQL level. Alter user, the name, default table space account, that is how the user is created inside using the SQL language. Right. So for almost all the, and why this tab is important, but again, for programmers, if you're a programmer, you need to write program to control the system. Now you need to issue this statement instead of using the tool, because the program cannot read the SQL developer. Only human can read SQL developer. Right. So that's where that's the next. I think that's the third or fourth screenshot already. Third. we should have 5, right? So there's some information about what we are doing here and what are the information there. The next, we are going to be looking at the container database, right? So container database can be viewed from the DBA tab. So on the DBA management tool, you see that on the left-hand side, I'm showing up on the screen here. You see that we have highlighted container database. Under container database, you have one pluggable database called the ORCL PDB. Right? So this is the pluggable database. Right? And from within this tool, you can also do some management. Do some management here using the SQL developer. So this is why Oracle DBA like SQL developer a lot. But there are also other tools. In the tutorial, we use another tool to create or to manage the pluggable DBA. And let's switch to the slide to show you which tool we're using. We're using a tool called Net Manager. Net Manager, right? I'll jump in one more slide to show you what we're going to be doing with the Net Manager. It's going to be creating a new name for your pluggable database. So basically what we're doing here is every database need to have a name on the network so that you enter oracle.us.edu, you can see it. So in this case, it's ORCL for the container database. And for the pluggable, it's your ORCL PDB. But now the network cannot see it yet. It exists, but there's no name. So we want to assign a name to that particular pluggable database. Let's search for the tool. And it's under Oracle. Net Manager. Right, so the Net Manager open up in the front of the tutorial. So right here, right here. So I'm just blow it up, right? So this is a Net Manager. Net Manager zoom in. Open up. You see some of the familiar things that we have here. So now you know what this tool is all about. It's about configuring the listener and ORCL service. Right, so that the two services we keep opening up, and that is a detailed configuration we're doing here. Now, what we are doing here is we are adding one pluggable database. So in here, right click, well, actually not right click, sorry. Click on this folder, and on the left-hand side, there's something called a create, right? Create. Let's create a new name for the pluggable database. I think the new service name is called ORCL PDB, pluggable database. We here together. Right, the next screen is telling you what protocol we're going to be using, right? Okay, let me pause this. So it's basically saying what protocol, internet protocol you're using. Usually we use TCP/IP. The rest of them are, well, it depends on how you set up. Sometimes you need to use Microsoft and things. So internet is more common nowadays. TCP/IP, and click next. Host name will be, I think TCP/IP, ORCL DB, host name should be localhost. Or I think that's the one. Let me make sure that I have the right one. And these parameters are very mechanical. So yeah, localhost.
So the service name is Oracle PCDB dot.
It's Oracle. So this is a localhost for sure. Click on next. It will be ORCL PDB dot localhost. So service name is ORCL PDB dot localhost. Connection type default. And we can test, right? So here testing is interesting. Click on test, it will give you an error message. Right. If you read the error message, it says initial test to use is what? Scott Tiger. Scott Tiger is it's kind of interesting. So so if you go talk to this is something that demonstrate you are Oracle user. Because especially experienced Oracle user, this name no longer exists, right? Scott Tiger. So Scott Tiger was the default testing user Oracle created to test their system installation before, I think, Oracle 10. So when next time that go into some Oracle environment and somebody asks you, what's your name? You say Scott Tiger. People will know that you know Oracle. But this name is no longer used. So we have to use a different name to test the system. Change the login. Change to system or system. What's the password for system? Password. Password. Say okay. Let's test it again. It should say something about successfully testing, and then you're done. And we can close the testing and finish. After you finish, now we have a new service open up called ORCL PDB. All right. Yeah. Not yet, I think. We are. Oh, yeah, we have to take the screenshot. Thank you for reminding me. So take that screenshot from your little utility here, right? This demonstrates that you kind of know how the thing work between our two services running on Windows and how do you configure it, the system. Don't worry if you still feel confused, because this is a detailed DBA job. And this is why the tutorial is called DBA101. Give you experience, so you know what you're doing. And when you are really receiving the Oracle training, then you will get into a lot of these detailed things. And once you get to know more, you'll be able to troubleshoot. When somebody have connection problem, somebody try to log into the system, they cannot log in, you check these configuration to see if they enter the wrong thing. And also, if you recall that in assignment number 9, when we use a PHP program, there is a line called connection. And the connection has something about the username, password is Oracle, and you have a long USA CAD Oracle.us. So where does those names come in? Is in here. You have to configure that Oracle server so that on the internet, people can recognize that name. And if you want to make it more secure, you want to create something special so people cannot guess what the name is, right? So that will create additional layer of security. So only the person know the connection string or the service name be able to make connection to the database, right? So let's continue that we can save, exit this program and save and go back to let's try to see what we are going to be doing, and we'll repeat the process. We're going to be creating a connection called ORC or PDB with the system user. And that connection type is different. Let's try to do that. So going back to our utility, close the utility. It will ask you to see if you want to save it, save. Because we need that connection. Now we can go back to the SQL developer. We need to create one more connection, right? So this connection is, so the current connection we have here is the one we connect to the container database. Now we want to connect to the pluggable database. And we also have the default DBA user can connect to the pluggable database as well. So that's called as ORCO PDB SYS, right? It's a little bit different from your tutorial, but the username is system, the password is password, password. The connection type, however, will be different. Now we are going to be using TNS. Oh, not TNS, sorry. Is that TNS? Oh, TNS. And we are going to be using PDB. Role is also system DBA. All right, so we're going to be doing that. Some of the interesting thing here. I really like this name. You see this at the bottom of this authentication option. There's one called Kerberos. Does anyone know what Kerberos is? Kerberos is an ancient Greek animal. So it's an animal guarding the entrance to the hell, I believe, sometime around that. So, but anyway, this is a very old authentication method. Before the window, it's called a domain system was created, or the LLDS, the directory service was defined. When you use multiple system, Oracle, IBM, you can install the Kerberos authentication, so you can use one username log into multiple systems, right? So that's kind of, I like that name a lot. So yeah, it extend the time of recording, but test and connect, right? So once you have connection, now we have two connections. One is container database, DBA. The other is the pluggable database, DBA, right? So now we can create user, MIS542. I think I want you to create, in this case, not MIS542. Instead, I'm going to be asking you to create a user, use your own name, right? Because when you create user, use your own name, you capture the screenshot. I know that you did it yourself. You're not copying other people's work. So use your first name or last name, doesn't matter. As long as I can identify you. So put the password there. I'll just use password. Password. Right, and default table space will be user. This will be Tim. But one thing different, one additional step you want to do is you go into the granted row. Make sure you click on, we did this in the first week of our class or second week, I forgot. Connect. The other one is resource. Resources basically is the network and the table space resource. So you click on resource, the user can access data. Without the resource row, you cannot access data, right? And apply, say successful. Open up this. Now I can see my user account here. Let me see which screenshot I want you to capture. Okay, hold on a second. We'll fix that for you. All right, so no, not yet. All right, so we will pause here a little bit and fix the problem in the classroom. Okay, now, so we have, to double check, you need to have your name here. So I'm using TWNG in the current system. So because we have too many connections, I'll close all of them. So we have two connections now. Both of them are system account, right? So now I'm going to be creating one additional connection. It's called the TWNG ORCL, yes, PDB. All right, so basically the practice or the tutorial is to show you how to use the SQL developer to control different account, So we just create a user account using your name. So we want to test this account to see if that works. So I'm using my name. You have to use your name, right? So if you use my name here, you get deduct 1 point from the assignment because you just copy exactly what I'm doing in the tutorial. If you use other people's name, then you get 0 point because you copy other people's work. So that's right. So, and I have TWNG, not 22, just this one. The connection type will be TNS as well, and the role is default, and the network alias now. You can test and connect. So this we haven't done yet. We have one more step to do. So we have our user connection, TWNG in my case, and your name will be there, M or T, depends on who you are. And make sure that you go into the right panel. See, we have a lot of tab open up already. Each one represent the worksheet working with different connection. You want to use the one with your name. In this case, TWNG on my computer screen. Select username from users, right? So let me zoom in to that particular query. Now, after we have play with system, you know what user is already. User is a view. We can use this view to find out who I am. I forgot to put an E here, so username. Okay. All right, so that should give me the correct result. The result should be something like my name showing up on the user. So this is a screenshot, the last one you need to capture for this assignment. And so capture this screenshot and you're done with the assignment. I think there are a few questions you have to answer from the assignment as well, in addition to the screenshot, right? But that's left to you to work on. And so congratulations, you finish up assignment 10. It's just a preview of the DBA job, right? To let you know what you're doing. And there are a lot more DBA job. The manual for Oracle DBA is like 1,000 pages. And there are digital copy you can download from Oracle. They will tell you exactly what each one of those view are used for. And when you change the view, then you can change the property of the. Say, for example, if you want to change the username, you can use alter username. Then you can change that username. You know, or change password using alter password. That's what we have done earlier. And that's it. That's the tutorial and your assignment number 10, the last assignment except for the project, right? So what we're going to do from now to the end of the semester is we have about 10 days left, right? So between now and next Wednesday for this class, you want to work on the project a little bit, at least get the website or the what we call the application ready, right? So when you come in, let's take a look at how many reports you have generated. And we'll double check your report, give you feedback, and you modify it and get a good grade from the project, and you're done with the class, right? So in a very short time, you got a complete database experience, even though not in deep enough, but you got entire database design, normalization. You got query. You need how to do query. You need to do you know how to do DBA job, and not so much about the programming store procedure, but you seeing the store procedure and know the terminology there. Right? So the rest of the job is that get the quiz ready, done, take the quiz, and make sure you're familiar with the terminology. And exam will be extended to the next Sunday.
So it will be only quiz or there's some short answers.
What?
There will be some
The exam, the final exam will be exactly like your midterm exam. The 5-chapter quiz, then you have some of the short answer. Like maybe I will ask you what is pluggable database means.
So how about any writing queries?
No, no query this time. Yeah, no query this time. We've done enough query in the